Good morning, everyone. Good morning to this session. We're talking about technology, how this technology is really writing new rules faster than government can draft them. AI can take decision in milliseconds. Blockchain rewrite the trust, actually, in this word. Autonomous vehicle navigate in the streets already, while lawmaker, they are still debating rules that were written for an analog era or pre-digital era. The question is no longer whether to regulate. The question is how. How do we move from red tape to smart regulation, designing rules that are agile enough to adapt and ethical enough to maintain public trust? The session is part of GRIP, which is the global regulatory innovation platform, bringing policymakers, bringing as well regulators, bringing an industry together to design the frameworks of tomorrow. And we have, and I'm honored to have, 3 exceptional voices to guide us. Her Excellency Honorable Shirley Botchwey, Secretary General of the Commonwealth, the perspective of 56 nations across diverse legal traditions. We have His Excellency Khalid Harmoodi, Assistant Secretary General for the Cabinet Affairs Support in UAE, at the heart of the UAE's governance transformation. We have His Excellency Michael Karnitschnig, Acting Director General for MENA and Gulf in European Commission, navigating regulation across 27 member states. It's not easy. Let's begin. So I will start with you, Your Excellency, Honorable Shirley. The Commonwealth brings together 56 countries at vastly different stages of development with diverse legal tradition and regulatory capacity. Where are countries struggling, honestly, most to keep regulation in step with technology? Where do you see the biggest opportunity to leapfrog, if there is any?
Thank you very much. Like you said, the Commonwealth's formation is least developed countries, small countries in population, small economies. However, at the same time, you have countries of the first world, emerging economies, countries that are very far advanced in technology. And so for us, this brings to the fore the fact that we need necessarily to move ahead in terms of adopting new forms of technology and at a pace that will allow us to develop. And so we are working together in terms of coming up with model laws to be shared, and also looking at ways in which we can build the capacity of our member states, those who really need their capacities built, because we are always working and dealing with markets that are very sophisticated in experience, in regulations, and all of that. And if our countries are to be able to make a mark in terms of their development, then it is necessary that we assist them as a Commonwealth. So like I said, we're coming up with model laws, we're coming up with guidelines on sharing data, on cybersecurity, and all of that. We're also looking at ways in which we can have centers of excellence at the Commonwealth, where capacities can be built, where sharing of experiences comes in, where the countries that have will be able to share with the others. We're also looking at how to bring together for all our countries industry, government, research and development, the stakeholder consultations on a regular basis, where whatever they come up with in terms of laws or the need to keep up with technology, will be able to take it through parliaments quickly, and then have amendments regularly through the consultations that take place all the time.
Your Excellency, Honorable, allow me, but I will stay with you because I am sure the way you said what you are doing during this period to adapt all this shows us all there are a political will. You are willing to change this framework that is no longer working for anybody, actually, and definitely for the 56 countries of the Commonwealth. But I asked also, where are those countries struggling? Let me change the word. What are the challenges?
We have constraints in capacity. We have issues to do with political governance.
Yeah.
We have issues to do with financial dependence on partners, for instance. Also, the capacity for them to even engage with the big tech companies.
Yeah.
These are all issues that our countries are facing. And so there's a need for us to step in and to provide that platform for them to be able to engage. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Interesting.
Yes.
Your Excellency Khalid, of course, the UAE has this reputation that it has built over the years for an agile and future-oriented governance, a reputation that didn't happen definitely overnight. It is definitely built over many, many years. What deliberate choices have helped the UAE to build regulatory agility across government and from early on?
Thank you, Mol, and it's nice to be with this prestigious session. I think we are living in the era of a big changing leaps across different sectors. I mean, we as center of government, we look that there are changes in the technology, social, education, health, and even the way how the people and individuals deal with each other. So with these changes, I think that the government, they have no option to do things what they used to do. They have to change, they have to cope with the new technology. Otherwise, they will miss opportunity, they will lose sectors, and the most part, they will lose the trust of the private sector and the investor and the government. So I think that the government, they should be not looking for agile regulatory system. It should be agile, trusted, and full transparent systems.
Wow.
So in UAE, we start a reform project in 2021. So we are almost 5 years. There was a decision taken by the government to reform and review all our regulations since 1971.
Wow.
So we talk about 350 laws which established, and by the end of 2025, we have reached that we have reviewed 90% of our laws which established 1971. And within this context, more than 102 laws have been repealed. And that's the reason because it's no more suitable for our requirement and changes. So through our journey to reform our regulation, there were 5 strategic elements we have adopted to assure the readiness of our laws for the future. First of all, it's about the forecast and the future trends. It was the main input on any review of laws. Second one, it was about the international standards and benchmark. We never, as the government, accept any review process unless it is a well-documented international and benchmark study. The third one is about the emerging markets. So all our questions to the entity, what are the impact of this review? What are the sectors and markets will be initiated? The fourth one is about the co-design with the stakeholders and how the entities have been reviewed with the stakeholder ministry. And the fifth one, our regulation is based on the outcome result. We never ever tackling how the people they should do. We are targeting what are the outcomes to be regulated. And we leave the process and how to do it for the investor and for the private sector.
Wow.
The main issue is that we have to balance between regulations and innovation.
And innovation.
I mean, we cannot leave it the sectors deregulated.
It's true.
And even you cannot regulate everything, so there will be a restriction and limitation for the private sector. So this is the technique that we have to balance between regulations and innovation to support this one.
Can I have your excellency example? So when blockchain first came, AI first came, I don't know, tokenization first came, there were something regulated in UAE very fast,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
So is this going ahead of the innovation or at the same pace?
Let me give you a real example. 2 years back, there was a request to issue a law for virtual assets. And Bitcoin is one.
Yeah.
And then after study and discussion, we have decided to not do it as a law. We can do it as executive resolution.
Okay.
And we test this sector because it's a new sector and it's still not clear. So if we issue a law and we tied all the players and their virtual assets, that might limit the balance. So we issue a resolution that can be reviewed and can be as a point to issue a law. So sometimes when there's a new technology, new sector, we don't jump to a law.
Okay.
We do have other regulations too.
That is a good solution
yes,
as
exactly.
well.
And then gradually, after the impact assessment, we can move to a bigger law, which we organize one.
Or we go back and we don't regulate it because it's not
Exactly.
needed, actually. Amazing, because this is how is part of your agility in UAE government as well.
Exactly.
Your Excellency, Michael, well, European, 27 countries at the same. You face a unique challenge, actually, because aligning ambition across 27 member states, each moving at different speeds, each have its own views of how to move and where to move. How do you reconcile all those needs for a regulatory agility with this political reality?
I was actually joking before the session started with the Secretary General that she is herding 56 states. I only have 27, so to deal with. So I should actually count myself lucky. But seriously, the European Union, in all its unique complexity, is of course facing a regulatory blessing and a curse. The curse is it is complicated to integrate 27 regulatory systems and economies. The blessing is, of course, that this also enables you to regulate on a transnational level. So ironically, even though we hear a lot of reports about over-regulation, red tape on the European level, the reality is that market integration and transnational legislation, think about product standards, think about data protection, actually in itself is an inherent simplification for companies and for citizens alike. So that is why we are now working full speed on what we call the 28th regulatory space, which is the EU as such, with, for instance, an EU Inc. company standard that enables private operators to work transnationally much more seamlessly rather than being rooted in one national legislation and then having to deal with the complexity of doing cross-border trade. Despite the EU, of course, being, let's face it, the biggest multi-nation market in the world with nearly 500 million people. The second complexity, and both previous speakers were alluding to it, is, of course, that we're playing catch-up with the reality of technological innovation, and in particular, its speed. And that is why I think we are also at a very steep learning curve when it comes to capturing these phenomena and these challenges and turning them into business opportunities on a regulatory level. What we're doing, for instance, is first of all we are really stress testing, like also the UAE do, all forms of regulation and laws. So there's a major simplification effort ongoing in the European Union across all policy areas. So not just in the core technology and innovation field, but on everything from financial markets requirements to climate action and energy to internal market regulations, etc. Because we really need to rethink the way we operate as legislators and as forces.
I want to say with you one question. When you are talking, I got this, when does flexibility become fragmentation? Because we don't want this as well.
I think what we have, and this goes back to the genius of our founding fathers already in the 50s and 60s, is what we call mutual recognition. So on top of transnational regulation, which in many core areas think about product safety standards, think about data protection, think about data standards, think about trade in general, and including, of course, trade and services, we have this principle of mutual recognition. So under certain circumstances, a product or a company that is operating in a member state can cross national borders very seamlessly. So in other words, European regulation, transnational regulation is not always the answer. We try to operate more through this light touch system where a service provider, an innovator, sits in one member state and operates across borders, but it's difficult. It's very often, by the way, it is not only a matter of regulation, it's a matter of funding, depth of our capital markets, and it is an issue of, let's say, secondary and tertiary regulations on national level, be it product standards, be it administrative requirements, be it environmental requirements, etc. That is a tricky one. So in short, there's always a difficult challenge, a balance to be kept between the two.
True. We'd love to know from you all, actually, what works, because Your Excellency, Honorable Shirley, with such diverse legal systems and level of development that is varying from one country to another in the Commonwealth, what kinds of regulatory cooperation actually works in practice? So I'm keen to know some examples that cross-border collaboration made a real difference.
So thank you very much. Let me say that for many of our countries, keeping their heads above the water is most important, because otherwise their development suffers. And within the Commonwealth, the 2.7 billion, 1.5 billion are under the ages of 29. So that in itself comes with a lot of challenges. And so, yes, there has to be a lot of collaboration, cross-border collaboration, but that becomes difficult when you're at different stages.
True.
And so that is where we come in as the Commonwealth Secretariat, where we are encouraging a lot of bilateral engagements, where capacity is being built, where experiences are being shared, best practices, because without that, it becomes very difficult. And what we're trying to do, especially with trade, intra-Commonwealth trade, to increase investment and trade, if we're not able to do that, it's going to be very difficult, especially since we have our eyes on digital trade, for many countries to participate. So yes, collaboration is very important. Building capacity is extremely so. For those who are not able to engage others who can help them, that's where we come in, and we're like I said, we're looking at model laws that countries can adopt, and then, of course, tailor to their needs. We are looking at building, helping them with guidelines for sharing data, for the cyber security and all of that, and for the regulation, because there has to be some level for countries to build on, and that's what we try to build for them.
You remember an example that really can be multiplied after that into bilateral or in one specific sector?
So we're building centers of excellence.
Okay.
Some countries have decided that they would host centers of excellence in cybersecurity, in data, sharing of data, in also helping the countries in the area of trade. And so that's what we're doing, the area of trade, in the area of climate, how to build resilience. Also, even in the area of democracy, how to share the experiences. So we're in the in the midst of getting all
Yeah.
of these done. And so these are some of the examples that we're doing.
I think with all the challenges that those countries are facing, starting from somewhere and from where you start, you can build on it after that, little by little. Your Excellency Khalid, so governments are increasingly asked to regulate technologies, and you spoke about it earlier as well, but they don't fully really exist yet. So this is very, very challenging. How is the UAE preparing its regulatory system for emerging technology and future risk? What is the mindset here?
Let me share our experience in UAE government. We are agile by design. We do have 5 legal instruments in UAE: law, decree by law, decree, cabinet resolution, and ministerial resolution. So when we design any law in UAE, we do make sure that the delegation is there, because we have a federal government. We have a federal government and we have 7 local government. So by law, we put the main and the principal article in the law about safety, privacy, security, fairness, and transparency. And we leave the details of the law for the local government or also for the ministerial. So coping with the changes, you need to have tools for flexibility. So we don't dump all our articles in the law. We design a law in general, and then we have. And besides this one, we initiate 2019 something called RegLab, Regulation Sandbox. This sandbox is to attract new technology and new projects. Even if the law is not allowing technology to be experimented in UAE, we give them a minimum valuable license for 6 months, issued by the cabinet. And we create a committee. Go and experiment your project or technology, and after 6 months, come back to us. So based on 6 months, either we amend our laws or create new law, or maybe we say, that's it. We tried for 6 months, it didn't help us. So the regulation lab which established in 2019, helped us a lot. And there are many laws and many resolutions be amended based on the experience. So by having agility design regulation will help the government to play. I mean, some of the laws, you just dump everything in law, then you cannot move.
True.
And it's difficult to change it. So we have 5 tools that enable the government to have some flexibility.
Have you done it before? I know you gave me the examples, but I don't know, flying cars, flying human, flying cats. Have you started something?
We do have a lot of projects for the autonomous cars, for the electric flights, and even some projects in the fintech and technology. So they are all projects which is by law not allowed. So we give them a license to experiment, and then we do our amendment. So we have almost 9 projects going on, part of the RegLab, to test such projects, and then we do the required legislation.
We can know the ideas of those projects?
Most of them are in the fintech and technology. Most of them. It's about robotics, delivery of things within a boundary. Even we have something called gig economy nowadays in the labor market, fraction bonds in the stock market. So there are many projects going on. And within 6 months, I think that a lot will come up.
Interesting. This is very avant-gardist. Your Excellency, Michael, there's something called the Brussels effect. So it's often cited globally, European regulations becoming de facto global standards, and everybody after that follows it. Where does this work well, and where is overstated or misunderstood? And there are a lot of examples. Everybody in the world follows, for example, the competition law that is from the Brussels effect, or the environmental and chemical as well rules.
I mean, the Brussels effect is not just, let's say, an academic phenomenon. It is a very real life phenomenon. It simply means that we are leveraging the power and the magnetic effect of our internal market of nearly 500 million businesses, producers, citizens, consumers, what have you. So that goes beyond the European Union per se. So it's not just a matter of regulating commerce, service provision, etc. across 27 member states. It has this global magnetic pull because, of course, companies that operate in the European Union, we're not talking about an extraterritorial effect here, let's be clear, but companies in goods and services and financial markets who want to operate in the EU need to comply with our rules and regulations. And because of that, there is some sort of export of, let's say, regulatory standards, because for many third countries, and I think more than half of other nations across the globe have the European Union as its major trading partner. Let's not forget this, big and small, by the way, have a genuine interest in maybe not copy-pasting those regulations, but at least to ensure a minimum level of comparability and alignment precisely to facilitate life for their traders. And that relates to financial market standards, that relates to pharmaceuticals, that relates to aircraft safety protocols, that relates to fintech, that relates to sustainability rules, etc. So in a way, the European Union is not exporting goods and services. The European Union is also exporting standards. We're doing this very carefully. Let's be clear about one thing. There's no intention to weaponize trade and to weaponize standards. That wouldn't work in the first place anyway. I think it would be extremely short-sighted. And secondly, because we see this tendency in some areas, unfortunately, these days, that would really affect the fabric in which global exchanges are woven. So the answer for us is more regulatory cooperation, in particular with our Gulf partners. We're in the process of negotiating a free trade agreement that has advanced relatively well with the Emirates. We're also starting with the other partners in the region. So this Brussels effect over time, I think, will only grow stronger and not weaker.
Yeah. Your Excellency, Honorable Shirley, I know you spoke about the challenges, you spoke about the model you're trying to implement and many of the projects, and definitely there are a political will. So from here, where do you see the greatest potential for the Commonwealth countries in this matter?
I think that from the solutions that the Commonwealth is supporting our countries with, I believe that they'll be able to compete in this very competitive world. And one of the tools that we're using is partnerships. And for us, this is very important. So partnerships with the European Union, hopefully with the UAE and other countries that are far advanced in these areas will do a lot. In helping us, get to where we should. But like you said, it's so fast-paced that we really need to keep at it and encourage our countries to keep at it and not be left behind.
Of course.
Because otherwise, we'll be lacking in a lot of areas that we have set for ourselves, and we won't be competitive enough in the world.
It's very fast. Your Excellency Khalid, as we look the next decade, what excites you most about how the UAE is positioning itself and lead in the regulatory innovation mainly?
I think the global landscape and context is very important in our ecosystem. I mean, most of our policy, regulations, projects are emphasizing on the global opening. So we are attracting investors, we're attracting residents, we're attracting even new technologies. So dealing with the global initiatives and going outside your country is very exciting to us. So most of our projects and trends is how to make bigger the landscape global. Even, for example, in the residence law, we have reformed it from A to Z. So we create a lot of golden visa, green visa, blue visa that attract a lot of individuals to the country. And the same apply with the labor market. When we have reviewed our labor market, it's improved the competitiveness of the labor market towards. So in the last 5 years, the labor market increased by 105% as skilled labor. So that by reviewing your regulation and focus on the global context, it helps us a lot. And there's a big opportunity for us to even increase our effort in this field.
Yeah, talking about opportunities, Your Excellency Michael, what opportunities do you see for EU actually to partner with region in the Gulf, for example, or of course Commonwealth on shaping global regulatory in the future?
I think the upward potential is enormous on all sides, despite, as I said, the recent trend towards economic decoupling affecting the fabric of global trade. That's not the solution. The solution is being open for business, not pulling up the drawbridges, being innovative in the way we regulate, light touch, smart, bring in the stakeholders early on in the process.
Yeah.
Again, it's difficult because it is often at odds with the models of political participation that we have, etc. But it's the name of the game. And the final thing is invest in the brain power of your own people, not necessarily only people, but also have this freedom of movement that His Excellency was referring to. Again, tricky in the political climate in some country these days, but there's no other answer to it than, let's say, having these 4 freedoms also globally.
True. I want to leave you with one question at the end, and we'll ask it. What one change that would most help government shift from red tape to smart regulation? We'll start with you, Your Excellency, Honorable Shirley. One change.
I think the one change that I see is the multi-sectoral consultations, regular
multi-sectoral consultation.
Yes, within the countries.
Yes.
Where you involve the parliaments as well.
Yeah.
And so for me, this is extremely important, where you're bringing all the stakeholders together to continuously consult and come up with regulations, policies, and
hear everybody
laws, yes.
and to move forward.
And get the buying of everybody without sacrificing social norms and public trust.
Interesting. Your Excellency.
I believe enhancing the channels with the private sector and the individual will help a lot. I mean, still, although we have finished 90% of our laws, but still I think there are a lot of opportunity for improvement. So opening the channels with the private sector individual will help the government a lot to do the achievement and the leaps in the ecosystem of the policies.
Your Excellency, Michael, one change would most help government shift from red tape to smart regulations.
The key shift for me is the mentality. We need to regulate, we need to legislate a bit more like a garage startup. To innovate, to be product-oriented, to fix a problem, rather than waging the ideological battles of the 20th or even the 19th century. I think that's the key thing for me. Look at the problem, bring the people around the table, do this in an innovative fashion, rather than trying to, stick a cookie cutter on a very complicated and unwieldy reality that we have today.
So smart regulation is really about a system that can adapt, that can learn, and maintain the trust overall. Thank you so much for this amazing ideas that came from our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much for this session, and thank you for all of you. Thank you for being here.